Welcome back. Matthew's now here with the business, and we're starting in Egypt. The turmoil there is certainly taking the toll on the economy.
Yes, that's right, Karen. And a plan, for example, to increase taxes on cigarettes, alcohol, mobile phones, that was quickly withdrawn earlier this week. Those tax rises were part of Cairo's attempts to cut its budget deficit, which is at around 11%. Well, those problems in getting the deficit down have also meant the delay of a payment to Cairo from the International Monetary Fund.
Amidst a political crisis, there was no appetite for austerity in Cairo. On Sunday, President Morsi had announced details of a raft of tax hikes, including on cigarettes, alcohol and mobile phone calls, in an effort to reduce Egypt's budget deficit. Just hours later, the measures were suspended, thought to be an effort to win over voters ahead of Saturday's constitutional referendum. Unable to make the cuts required by the IMF, Egypt requested that payment of its $4.8 billion loan be delayed because of the political turmoil.
The president has decided to stop applying those laws until they are discussed as part of a wider social dialogue. And then we can see what could be done about those measures.
The IMF agreed the loan with Cairo on several conditions, including increasing the number of products subject to sales tax, creating more income tax bands and reforming energy subsidies. The goal to bring down Egypt's budget deficit from 11% this year to 8.5% of GDP next year. Confirming the delay, the IMF said it remains in close contact with the Egyptian authorities and stands ready to continue supporting the country during the ongoing transition and to consult with them on the resumption of discussions. But those talks may strike a different tone. The delay in implementing the austerity measures, coupled with the political instability, have further harmed Egypt's economy, and a new deal with the IMF may require even harsher cuts.
Well, adding to their woes, the Egyptian stock market is also suffering.
Yes, that's right. And for much of the year, the market there was actually one of the best performing in the world, but it's been falling quite sharply. As you can see from this chart, over the last 6 months, there it is dropping down over the last couple of months.
And the other markets, is it a brighter picture?
It is a bit of a brighter picture. Over in Asia, all the markets have now been making some gains. Let's take a look at the Kospi in South Korea as well. That wasn't adversely affected by the rocket launch in North Korea. That's made half percent gain. And Wall Street had a similar story. Markets up there. The Nasdaq managing to climb 1%. That's on renewed hopes over this looming fiscal cliff.
And also keeping a close eye on America's central bank. Certainly markets will be this Wednesday.
Yes, because a decision from the Federal Reserve is expected after its two-day policy meeting this Wednesday. One of the things that is expected, not confirmed, but expected is a bit more asset buying, quantitative easing to help boost the economy. Figures of an extra $45 billion have been mooted. We'll see what comes out of that meeting later.
And here in Europe, another battle for finance ministers trying to regulate Europe's banks.
Yes, now efforts to work out how to regulate Europe's EU banks have run into a bit of trouble. Now, while there's broad agreement that the European Central Bank should take a lead role, the devil is in the detail. And the key sticking points are, firstly, over the size of the banks. France wants all banks to be included. Germany only wants bigger banks in there. And also over the timing of the programme. Again, this was supposed to take effect at the start of 2014. Germany says there should be a bit more time. And finally, non-Eurozone countries like UK, like Sweden, they want to see safeguards to protect their own independence when it comes to regulating their banking sector. Well, let's get some of the day's company news now. And more job losses are planned at French car maker Peugeot Citroën. That's according to unions who say an extra 1,500 jobs will be cut. That's on top of the 8,000 already announced. Those unions saying cuts will be made by not replacing departing workers.
Elsewhere, Italian drivers queued to buy petrol late on Tuesday. That was in advance of a 60-hour strike by petrol stations. Unions claim owners of petrol stations are seeing their profits squeezed by oil companies. A minimum service will be available on motorways with at least one station open every 100 kilometres.
And no sale yet for France as it tries to sell Rafale jets to Brazil. President Dilma Rousseff says a deal to buy 36 of the jets will depend on a pickup in the Brazilian economy. France's Dassault Aviation is up against rivals Boeing and Saab for the €4.5 billion deal.
staying with Brazil, and it's hoped that certainly sporting events are going to give a certain boost to the economy.
Yes, because, we heard Dilma Rousseff talking about the economy there, and Brazil had been one of the stars of the world economy, but it grew only 2.7% last year versus 7.5% in 2010. Well, now some of the country's regions are hoping for a bit of a sporting boost.
2 major tournaments in 2 years have sent football fever in Brazil into overdrive. With construction of venues still underway, everyone wants a piece of the action.
We've already made giant figures of people like Pelé, Maradona, Joseph Blatter, Jose Maria Marim, and we're also planning caricatures of other great icons, not just from Brazil, but other countries too.
Still, it's not all been about football. With growth of just 0.6% over the last quarter, half what had been forecast, Brazil's mighty economy has started to sputter. Low investment and high labour costs haven't helped, though the government's kicked off with a programme of stimulus measures aimed at pumping $50 billion into the economy. It's also pinning further hopes on a boost from football tourism, as long as the infrastructure's completed on time.
Actions were taken in November last year to speed up the construction process, including an increase in our workforce to 4,500 employees. These measures mean the project is advancing at an average of 6.5% each month. Hopefully we will meet the deadline, which is April 2013.
Brazil's economy is still expanding, but if the authorities want it to regain its earlier energy, they'll have to improve the nation's competitiveness, both on and off the pitch.
Speaking of sporting events, one of the most tweeted of the year 2012, but there's others that have also caused a stir on Twitter.
Yes, that's right. So Twitter has just released its list of the most tweeted events, personalities, all of that kind of thing. And the most tweeted event this year was this, the London Olympic Games. 150 million tweets sent over the 16 days of the Games. Now, you might be wondering, what was the most tweeted event? Well, it wasn't this man winning the 100 metres, Usain Bolt. It was actually these 5 ladies reforming to perform. There were about 115,000 tweets per minute, amazingly, when the Spice Girls performed in that closing ceremony. I'll tell you as well that the most retweeted tweet was President Obama announcing that he had won the election. Here it is. It said 4 more years, and that was retweeted 810,000 times afterwards as well. There were various other notable events as well. Whitney Houston's death got a lot of tweets. That was back in February, and Superstorm Sandy as well, 20 million tweets.
Well, Matthew, I have to leave on the note of how many retweets could you possibly get in one day? We'll have to wait and see. Maybe viewers can help you out.
Yes, well, if anybody wants to follow me or retweet me even on Twitter, they're very welcome to. They can find me at MatthewFrance24. You see, look, I've diligently been trying to tweet away there, so please let me know anything you think about what we're covering, or even some business stories we might have missed.
Matthew, thanks very much for the news update. Do stay tuned to France 24. We'll have news headlines in just a few minutes.